Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name's Ethan and you're watching Dust to Dirt 4x4. So at this point I'm just starting to prime the cab. I just finished fixing all the rust in the cab by welding in some new panels and things, as well as I removed all the seam sealer so that I could prime underneath it and replace it with some new stuff because the old stuff was getting cracked and worn out. So this is what the cab looked like after I'd primed over all the new panels that I've painted in, as well as I gave pretty much the whole cab a second coat of primer just to make sure that the paint would adhere properly. So I primed over all the new little bits that I welded in, like that panel in the side there and over the other side as well, just to make sure that it didn't rust through once I put the top coat on. So now I'm going to use some seam sealer and bog over that just to clean it up a bit. So now I've finished bogging up the car as well as sanding down the bog ready for paint. So I'm painting it with the chassis black and I'm starting to paint underneath first. I'm just going to paint underneath and inside the cab because the outside of the cab I'm going to paint in a different colour. So now I'm going to paint the firewall here quickly. So now I'm moving on to painting under the dash, just because it was easier to paint while it was up on its side. So now I've laid it back down and I'm just touching up the firewall, as well as I started painting the interior. So the dash has been painted now, and now I'm painting the floor. So that's all I filmed of painting the cab. So now I'm going to lift the cab onto the chassis here. I've just set the rubbers on there, so it'll just sit on the rubbers and then I'll line them up later. So here's a few photos of what the cab looked like sitting on the chassis. So we've just lifted the cab onto the chassis now, and it's starting to really come together. I reckon it looks really sick. So I've actually decided that I'm going to paint the whole outside of the car in this colour. It's the same colour as the primer. So it's still in primer now, but I'm going to get the primer matched. So the whole inside now is black. It looks pretty sick. So now I'm going to start installing some wiring looms and lining up the body mounts a bit better and bolting them in. So it might be a little bit interesting trying to get the engine and gearbox in. I might have to take the radiator surround out. But I'm going to start putting in the brake booster and master cylinder, as well as the clutch cylinder and all kinds of stuff. But I reckon it looks amazing sitting on there right now. I'm getting really excited. So hopefully within the next few weeks I should have the motor back, and then the motor and gearbox will go in, and then it'll be getting closer to running for the first time in 5 or 6 years. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. I'll see you in the next one.